Good morning, Cowboys Nation. Thank you for joining me on Cowboys Morning Brew on Boom Broadcast and Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Michael Davis. We're doing things a little bit different today. I decided to get up early enough and actually get dressed for work so I won't be rushed out the door. And I also have a coffee mug to explain how I feel about the Dallas Cowboys looking into acquiring and doing their homework on free agent pass rusher Jadeveon Clowney. Do you want to know how I feel? I can't even, if you guys can't read backwards. So I hope you are joining me with your morning brew as the Dallas Cowboys did bring in Jadeveon Clowney into the facility, and they are kicking the tires on 32-year-old Clowney. I've been critical of Jadeveon Clowney in the past, and I'm going to try not to be as critical because he could very well be a Dallas Cowboy. He's 32 years old, actually born on Valentine's Day. He was the first overall pick in 2014. Okay, so over a decade ago. And in my personal opinion, he was a first round pick and he was a first overall pick because of one hit against Michigan. And he is a 3-time Pro Bowler. His last Pro Bowl came in 2018, and he has bounced around the league. He was in Houston, where he benefited from J.J. Watt, and then he has not been consistent with another team since. Seattle in 2019, which is very important, and I'll come back to that. 2020 with the Titans, the Browns for a couple years, the Ravens, and then the Panthers last year. Now, something to note is there are positives for potentially bringing in Jadeveon Clowney, but also, what are you doing? It's a little tone deaf to what the Cowboys did just a couple weeks ago when they trade away Micah Parsons for 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark. Now, this isn't to continue harping on the trade, but Sam Williams. But the Dallas Cowboys had an elite pass rusher, and they traded him away to say that they are accruing picks and this move is going to help them in the run game. But they also said that they believe in the guys in the building already. And so that's what happened, where they're like, we believe in Sam Williams. We believe in Dante Fowler and Marshawn Nealon and rookie Donovan Ezraku. Now, playing against the Philadelphia Eagles, I actually did like the rotation. But let me run through some numbers for you guys. Marshawn Nealon was the only edge rusher to get a sack on Jalen Hurts in that opener against the Philadelphia Eagles. He had 1 quarterback pressure. Ezraku, 1 quarterback pressure. Dante Fowler, 3 quarterback pressures. Sam Williams, probably one of the more consistent, had 5 quarterback pressures. Now, that is also against Jalen Hurts. It's against the defending Super Bowl champion. The level of competition in the opener was massive, going up against one of the best, if not the best, offensive line currently in the NFL. But the whole reason you were okay trading away Micah is you felt comfortable with the guys in the room. And now all of a sudden, we're not comfortable with the guys in the room, that we're now looking to outside help. James Houston had a great preseason and made his way onto that 53-man roster. Why are we not going to be using him more? And then you go get Jadeveon Clowney. And again, there's positives to Jadeveon Clowney. But let's not act like he's going to fix the problem. I said this week that the Cowboys just didn't have a star player that offenses have to game plan away from like they had to with Micah Parsons. Jadeveon Clowney is not that player either. As a matter of fact, I would say that Jadeveon Clowney has benefited for most of his career because his best years were in Houston, playing opposite side of J.J. Watt, who was getting double teamed. And even then, Jadeveon Clowney's peak was 2016, where he was a second team All-Pro. That was his peak. And not to say he's a bad player now, but this is the same player who has never recorded double-digit sacks. He has always been capped at 9.5. One year in Houston in 2017, and the other coming just a couple years ago, granted, in Baltimore with 9.5 sacks. So you mean to tell me that Jadeveon Clowney is going to take away snaps from a room that you just felt super confident in, and that's why you trade away Micah? So this is a little tone deaf for the Dallas Cowboys to consider Clowney. If they bring him in, how much is he going to bring about? Jadeveon Clowney last offseason signed a 2-year, $20 million deal with the Carolina Panthers, coming off a 9.5 sack year with the Baltimore Ravens. Clowney finished with 5.5 sacks last year, 46 tackles, 4 passes defended, and actually a rarity for him, 0 forced fumbles. This is the first year of Clowney's career in 2024 that he played in half the games of the year and didn't record a single forced fumble. He did impact the game in other ways. I want to acknowledge that. Clowney registered nearly 15% pass rush win rate playing for the Panthers last year, and that's pretty impressive because you finished 20th in pass rush win rate when you have at least 125 pass rush snaps that you played against. And if they're making this decision off, hey, let's kick the tires on somebody, great. I am all for going outside for help where we need it. But a week ago, you said we didn't need it. 2 weeks ago, you said we didn't need it because you're trading away Micah Parsons, your difference maker. This move tells me that the Cowboys aren't as confident in the men in the locker room. And this Kenny Clark deal might work out great. I mean, for Kenny Clark's first game in a Cowboys uniform with the expectations and the bright lights and playing against the level of competition that he did, I mean, Kenny Clark did well. And I don't blame Kenny Clark for Jerry Jones trading away Micah Parsons. It's unfair. Kenny Clark can only show up and be the best self. But Jerry might be regretting trading away Micah Parsons, and this Jadeveon Clowney deal might be a reason for that. Now, I do want to take a coffee break, or if you're listening to us on Fans First, we're going to air a couple of commercials and pay the bills. But when we come back, that is my opinion on even kicking the tires on Jadeveon Clowney. But now I want to transition my focus. I want to transition my focus to what Jadeveon Clowney would bring to the Cowboys and why we are even considering Clowney next on Cowboys Morning Brew. Welcome back to Cowboys Morning Brew. Thank you for letting me take my coffee break. I'm Michael Davis on Boom Broadcasting and Fans First Sports Network for the star-studded Cowboys Network. Dallas Cowboys doing homework on Jadeveon Clowney, former number 1 overall pick. And The reason they are kicking the tires is they did trade away Micah Parsons. There may be a little bit of regret, but Brian Schottenheimer actually has a relationship with him. Schottenheimer was asked about this and was asked why the Cowboys would do their homework and if there was any reason for Jadeveon Clowney to be at the facility. Brian Schottenheimer was quoted, and I'm pulling this quote from CBSSports.com that Schottenheimer said, and I quote, "I would say the personal relationship with him and the problems he can cause in the pass game and run game. I remember how disruptive he can be. He's really good against the run and the pass. He's a violent player that plays the game the right way. I love his length, but it was really good just to catch up with him. He's a dad now, got a couple kids. He's been coaching his son's football game. I think that's cool to see these guys when they grow up and start having families." So there is obviously a relationship built between Brian Schottenheimer, who was in charge of the offense, from their mutual time in Seattle that 1 year in 2019. Now, in 2019, granted, this is 6 years ago, Jadeveon Clowney, 13 games, 11 started, 31 tackles, 3 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, and even a pick six. So I just want to throw that out there. He did have a pick six. So there's familiarity when it comes to a rookie head coach looking at his resources. And this is actually been Brian Schottenheimer's approach. This is his first head coaching gig at any level, college, pro, you name it. And if you look at how he assembled his staff, he looked for people who may not be those bright names, but he's made a lot of connections in his time in the NFL waiting for this moment. So Schottenheimer actually knows the exact people he wants on his staff rather than going and grabbing the flashy names. So for people who are adamantly opposed to Matt Eberflus being the defensive coordinator or Clayton Adams being the offensive coordinator, Brian Schottenheimer knows. And it's like planning your dream wedding and you're writing all your stuff. And he's had this on pen and paper for quite some time. Like if I was ever, I will contact this person. And so whenever he and Jadeveon Clowney were in Seattle together on opposite sides of the football, he probably wanted to keep tabs on Jadeveon Clowney. So that's the reason. If you look at Dallas and the pressure that they generated on Jalen Hurts, there was a 42.4% pressure rate, which is fifth best, which is saying something because they were playing against the Philadelphia Eagles without Micah Parsons. Now, of course, the Cowboys also gave up a lot of yards on the ground, but that's going to be any game you play against the Eagles with Jalen Hurts and honestly, who should have been the MVP last year in Saquon Barkley. And King Clark, whenever he was on the field versus off the field, helped that run defense. But what I was seeing is there wasn't a player on that side of the football that was really scaring the offense. Williams, Fowler, Nealon, Ezraku. Putting in Jadeveon Clowney. If you can get something out of his talent, something that we haven't really seen executed well since his days in Houston, or even that year in Baltimore a couple years ago, and Carolina was okay. But if you expect Jadeveon Clowney to be the guy, you're not getting the guy. He's nowhere to be found unless you trade for a Trey Hendrickson, which puts you in the exact same spot you were with Micah Parsons. You are getting a player who can be a rotational piece. And it kind of does make a little bit of sense because the Cowboys have like $37 million that they can use for Jadeveon Clowney or any other free agent sign. I mentioned Stephon Gilmore. If Blandon Diggs weren't healthy, I've mentioned Asante Samuel in that same regard. But I did want to talk about I did want to talk about Jadeveon Clowney, um, potentially adding to this defense. I think it's a possibility that he gets signed. I think it's a possibility. I think if you look at the talent he was playing around in Carolina, 46 tackles, not bad. 5.5 sacks, not the worst. And Baltimore having those 9.5 sacks just a couple years ago. Maybe he could generate 6 sacks this year. Maybe. But any defensive end's impact on the game for Dallas is going to be significantly decreased because they don't have Micah Parsons. So when it comes to Jadeveon Clowney in Dallas, if you have the cap space, why not? Peyton Turner's on IR. But if there was a name at linebacker, I would value a linebacker over a defensive end or a corner with Diggs, Bland, Elam. But after that, until Siobhan Rebel, the rookie, third-round pick, is healthy, that depth does not run deep at corner. Donovan Wilson is named a captain, and he was potentially going to get cut this offseason. There's a lot more areas where the Cowboys could find that help. But if they really believe in Jadeveon Clowney, then why not? Go for it. Surprise me. Surprise me. That's all I'll say is surprise me with Jadeveon Clowney and see what you can get. But again, if you are looking at the bigger name, Clowney is not that guy. Unfortunately, he's not that guy. But this has been Cowboys Morning Brew. I am your guy, the host of Cowboys Morning Brew, Michael Davis, on Boom and Fans First Sports Network. We will be back tomorrow, and I will also be dropping a special episode on Saturday covering the Giants with a friend of my enemy, which we will announce on tomorrow's podcast episode. But thank you all. Whether you're getting ready for work, I beat you to it, or you're going to school, or you're just having a lazy day on the couch, thank you for starting your morning the right way with me, with your cup of coffee on Cowboys Morning Brew, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning.